Welcome to another episode of Chat with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Lou Silver. What's up, Lou?
Hey, Staxx, what's up, buddy?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. So you got a lot of things going on. You're moving quite along there in the acting world.
I'm busy.
Congratulations on the capo, the rise to
Thank you.
power.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about. So do you want to tell the people where you're from and
Sure.
what it was like growing up for you?
Well, I'm from Philly, born and raised Philadelphia, which is now nearing probably the murder capital of the world.
Yeah, it's
No,
pretty
it's
nuts.
not the city it was when I grew up there. And moved to Florida about 21 years ago when my daughter was born. And I've got some various businesses, but I'm one of those guys that never gave up the acting bug. I've been doing it for over 25 years, and I got into it with a dear friend of mine, Frank Vincent, who played Phil Leotardo in The Sopranos. And Frank passed on in 2017, but he really got me my start. And I will give a shout out to Willie DeMeo, who actually brought me back into acting in 2018. I did a day with him on Gravesend, and then COVID hit. I was supposed to have a recurring role in episode season 2, but with COVID and then that scene that I shot with Vinny Pastore that got cut, one thing led to another, and fortunately, three agents later, and I'm repped and I'm getting work like probably every week. I'm doing something. I just shot for Hulu. I shot Holier Than Thou, where I play an attorney for Jerry Falwell. I just did a deal with Danny Houston. I had one day on Snow Shadow, which is the story of the stolen James Bond DB5 car from Goldfinger. And yes, I auditioned and I landed the part for Capo, Rise to Power, produced by Jimmy Barbarisi. I was a little shocked that I got that, and I was more shocked that my name appears on the poster. So it's an exciting time right now. I feel blessed, and what can I tell you? Capo is crazy. That's all I got to tell you. It is something that no one has ever seen before. Anybody who thinks, oh, it's just another mob TV show, it's not. It is. It's the Mafia. It's the Sopranos, Dexter, Stranger Things. It's all over the spectrum, and it's going to appeal to audiences of all ages. All
So
ages.
it's a series, right? It's a
It
series, like
is a series, yes. So we just wrapped episode 1, and there are 5 other episodes that are already written. We're ready to start shooting episode 2 in December, I believe. I know that the producers talk about airing episode 1 during the first quarter, releasing all the additional 4 or 5 in one shot towards the end of 23. Whether it's going to be Amazon, Hulu, Tubi, I have no idea. I'm just an actor.
yeah, they
That's
pick it up at the last minute, right? The
yeah.
places that are gonna.
That's above my pay grade. Here's your lines, show up, do what we tell you to do, and I'm happy.
So what was it like getting into acting? What was your first acting role? And like how did it all transpire? Did they just come up to you and say, "Hey, you want to try this?" Like how
Well,
did it all come to be?
like I mentioned, Frank Vincent was a dear friend of mine, and Frank played Phil Leotardo in Sopranos. He was in Casino, Raging Bull. Long story short, Frank had asked me to, he would bring me on all these independent films. And in '98, he said, I know your idol is James Caan. And growing up, James Caan was my idol. I watched every James Caan movie there was. 100 times. So Frank said, Danny Provenzano's making this movie called This Thing of Ours, and I got you a part. So I go out. Next thing I know, I'm sitting at a table with James Caan. I can't believe it, and I'm in a movie. Well, you know what? Nothing really happened from that movie. It wasn't that great to begin with, but I was in it, and I got to be with Jimmy Caan. So that was very cool, and I stuck with it for a short period of time because when you want to be an actor, it's not an easy road. And I was a young guy. This is what is this, 98? So what are we going back, 25 years ago?
The pay
I,
is not, it's all over the
the,
place
the
kind
pay
of
is
too,
zero.
right?
Here's the
Yeah.
pay. The pay is I pay you to be in this thing practically.
Yeah.
I was doing 12 hours a day in a trailer playing gin rummy with James Caan, Dr. Dan Conti, who's a dear friend of mine, Vinny Pastore, and I was just losing. So not only was I working for free, I was losing playing gin rummy every day. And
Yeah.
my wife at the time, she said, listen, this isn't what I signed up for. We're over here, we're going broke. You want to be an actor. So, you know what? I gave it up and I walked away from it. And that was 98. 20 years later, because of Frank Vincent, Willie DeMeo and Vinny Pastore said, you want to do a day on Gravesend? Because Frank would, if he was alive, would have given you a part. So I did the day and I got the bug back and I went and I started taking acting classes, doing improv, doing everything that I was fearful of, theater performance, you name it, scene study, monologues. And then I ended up with, surprisingly, 3 agencies that picked me up and they rep me. And I audition probably once a week for something. I don't get everything. Uh, but I love doing it. So I'm not in it for the money. Look, would I like to get paid a lot? Of course. Someday I hope we get a nice payday that's worth talking about. But right now I do it for learning. I learn more and more each time I'm on a set. Build up my resume, my screen credits, my IMDb portfolio, my content. So I'm enjoying it, and
So
I'm blessed.
when you were, before you got into acting again, what were you doing? Like, what was your job
Well,
before that?
I still have a job because this isn't going to cut it right now. I'm in the mortgage business, so I've been in the mortgage business for over 30 years,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what I do.
Was it hard to step away from that and go back into acting?
Well, not really. Remember, I didn't leave my business. I just I added to it. So listen, when you get a call and you're on a set for 3 days straight, of course that's going to interfere with your work. But I'm in the industry, the mortgage industry, at the side of sales and origination. So once I have, in essence, taken care of the client's needs, the office itself, the company takes over.
Yeah.
That has really no. I'm not taking away from what I do for a living because I have to support a family. So I can't just say, you know what, I'm not going to work. I'm just going to hang around and wait for some part to fall in my lap. That's fantasy. That's not going to happen. And like with Capo, I just did 3 overnight shoots. So we would go on set at 11 at night, and you work till 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, guess what? At 8 a.m., I came home, showered, and changed, and then full
Did
day
your,
in the mortgage business.
yeah,
Now,
your
three
normal
days
job.
later, yeah, I went into a coma 3 days later. I didn't wake up for like 2 days. But
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do. And if you're passionate about it, you're going to stick with it. I'm passionate about acting because I love doing it. I love being on the set. I love being with the cast, the camaraderie of the cast. I live for it.
So when you get into acting role, do you try to live your role? Do you like try to be the person that you're playing?
Well, I come from a background. My father was an attorney, and he represented a lot of colorful characters. So I grew up around a lot of guys and their fathers that were, let's call it what it is. They were, wise guys. And as a kid, I watched them and I studied them, and I thought they were the coolest people. I loved the way they dressed. I loved the fact that they parked where you weren't allowed to park. That they didn't make a reservation. They showed up. They got a table. They were wearing pinky rings, and they had cat. I mean, it was just a lifestyle in growing up. I was born in '63, so through the '70s and the '80s, this was like normal in Philadelphia. This
It was
is
Nicky Scarfo's area, right? Back
yes, it
then.
was yes.
Bruno
Yes,
Scarfo.
yeah. All of that was very popular back then. My father was an attorney, so I was around attorneys. I was around professionals. I was around his clients and their kids. Um, so I guess when I get a role, I sort of pull from my life experiences of what that person acted like, his gait of speech, words that he uses, his tone. But Frank Vincent always told me, just be you. So whether you, Lou Silver, went to medical school and I was a brain surgeon, or I was an attorney, or I was an actor, I would still talk the same way.
Yeah.
So unless you're portraying someone else, like a biographical uh, role, I'm going to be J. Edgar Hoover. Unless I'm going to be someone else that I'm supposed to be them, duplicate them, I'm just going to bring me to the character.
So that was Frank Vincent's advice for you, is to
Yes,
just be
that was
yourself.
just be yourself in everything you do.
So I'm supposed to be going to Vincent Pastore's birthday party this weekend at the
Oh,
casino.
great guy, great
Yeah,
guy.
it's gonna
Please
be a
tell him I
really
said
good
hello.
time. I will, this Saturday at Foxwoods.
Right, they're roasting him, I hear.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great time. So you have some colorful characters in your past. And I wanted to bring up this picture.
Wow, you've done some investigative journalism there. Yes. Joey is a dear friend of mine. Wow, I can't believe where is that from? Oh, yes, I know where that's from. Yeah, that was his
I think his
60th
birthday.
birthday party. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you must have been snooping around on Instagram or something. Yeah. So Joey and I go way back. He's a dear friend of mine and the family, and I know his mom and his sisters, and I know his wife and his beautiful daughters, and he's a great guy. And yeah, that's part of me growing up in Philly.
Do you think people get a misconception of who he is?
I think he's a wonderful guy. What do you want me to say?
Because there's a lot of people talk about him constantly. It's like
Well, he's a
he,
popular figure. He's a polarizing figure,
yeah,
So, but he's a great guy and he's a family man. That's all I know him to be.
yeah. So when you were growing up, these big events that happened in Philadelphia, were you around for those?
Well, I lived through them. I wasn't, I'm not in jail. I'm, I'm sitting here talking to
No,
you.
I mean, like when the Chicken Man got blown up. Were you in Philadelphia when that happened?
I was in a nightclub in Cherry Hill, New Jersey that night when that happened. I'll never forget it. It's like you always remember where you were when something happened. And I was in Valentino's nightclub in Cherry Hill, New Jersey when that happened. I remember it well. It was a big shock, But the '80s were a crazy time in Philadelphia. I mean,
There was bodies all over the place.
it was a crazy, crazy time. You had this little guy running the show, and he was a bit of a psychopath. And you know, it is what it is. He's gone now. He passed away. But yeah, it was a crazy time. The '80s, very crazy.
So
Someday, hopefully, they're going to make a movie about Nicky Scarfo.
they
I
need
would
one
love.
bad. They
I
need
would
one.
love to be in that.
Oh man, that would be a good one.